Guys, I'm letting y'all know right now, I am not the one to argue with. I'm all for people agreeing to disagree respectfully. But this person that's been going back and forth with me on my, I can't remember. I basically made a video talking about like abortion arguments I don't like, that I talked about what I believe are manipulative abortion arguments. Y'all, when I tell you my stance on abortion is not going to change. It's not even worth arguing with me about, because I know my stance on abortion stands on an objective moral. It's not even about, me hating women, me being against supporting women. It's about, I believe, not even I believe, I know abortion is evil. I know abortion is evil. Not just I think it is, not just I want to believe it is. I know it is evil. So I am not the person to argue with about it. I say what I need to say. If you don't like it, don't watch it. If you don't agree with me, don't watch it, right? But if you're going to watch my video about the topic just to get mad and then go in my comments to argue with me back and forth and then have the audacity, y'all need to calm down. I don't get angry about a lot of things, but I hate when people pretend to have some moral superiority over someone else when they've done nothing. This is just for me. I feel like I just needed to explain these logical fallacies that people use when they're debating people, because I'm a logical person. If I'm making a debate, I'm talking about objective things. I'm not going to do straw man arguments. I'm not going to appeal to popularity arguments. I am arguing my stance from the most objective standpoint I can every single time, because that's how I have to process things. I have to have things be objectively true and logical and rational, and I also want them to be a moral good. I do not take stances on things that I cannot support objectively. Me personally, I can't do that, and I won't do that, because I believe in objective truth, not subjective truth. Okay. So basically, this person was going back and forth with me. I was talking about manipulative abortion arguments, and basically she brought up that she had nieces in foster care and a niece who had a miscarriage. And I empathize with her. Of course, I said, I'm so sorry your niece went through a miscarriage. That's not what I'm arguing about when I'm talking about abortion. I've made multiple videos specifying that a miscarriage is not the same as an abortion, right? But bringing up miscarriage and bringing up foster care are both logical fallacies. Like when you're debating on the topic of abortion, it's about, is abortion morally justified? Is abortion murder? That's usually what we're debating about. But people are so used to using these straw man arguments. And let me explain for those who don't understand what I mean by a straw man argument, because basically it's a fallacy. It's a logical fallacy. So, a straw man fallacy, this is what the Google definition is. A straw man fallacy is a logical fallacy that involves misrepresenting an opponent's argument to make it easier to attack. The term comes from the idea that a scarecrow is a weak opponent that can be easily defeated. So basically, when I'm saying abortion is murder, no one's ever arguing abortion isn't murder, right? That's what you should be arguing. The reason people don't argue that is because they know when I say abortion is murder, it's objective truth. I'm not making up that abortion is killing a baby. Everyone understands that is exactly what an abortion does. It ends a human being's life. A successful abortion, because y'all know there's such thing as botched abortions where they think the baby's dead and it's not, and then you have the baby either born malformed or with a lot of health problems because the abortion pill didn't take. They thought they weren't pregnant, but the baby survived it. Yeah, there are people alive who survived a failed abortion because a what's the opposite of failed? A successful abortion ends the life. Um y'all. And you know what? I don't care how unpopular my opinion is either. I don't care if 90% of women support abortion. I believe so strongly in abortion being wrong and abortion being evil that I don't care if I'm the only person who's saying it's wrong. Everyone else can believe it's right and it's okay. I'm still going to argue what I believe and what I feel because this is something I have a strong opinion on, right? And it's also not built around logical fallacies. It used to be, I used to be pro choice and fall for all of the manipulative language and the strawman arguments that this person continues using. So let me finish explaining strawman arguments. So basically what this person did is I I made my video, right? I made my video. She didn't like what I had to say. She clearly supports abortion and then she made these talks about her niece and having a miscarriage and then her other nieces being in foster care because their mom's on drugs, which like I said, I empathize with the fact that her niece had a miscarriage and that she has cousins. The cousins grew up in foster care. Sorry, not the niece. Her cousins grew up in foster care. But I very politely said that is not what I'm arguing against. I'm not arguing that it's okay for people to be abused in foster care. I'm not arguing that people in foster care can't face harsh circumstances in life or that that's justified. So it's basically like she's moving, shifting the focus to a completely different topic than what I'm arguing against because my stance on abortion is murder and abortion is wrong and not justified. If I believe murder is wrong, this is what I always specify. Murdering an innocent human being is wrong, right? Murdering someone who's committed all these horrible crimes, that's justified. If someone's, killed tens of people, if someone's even killed just one or two people, right, we might say it's justified that that person be given the death penalty, right? But that person is not being killed because they committed a crime. They're being killed because they were found guilty of doing something atrocious to another person, or they ended the lives of a bunch of other people, and therefore it was justified for their life to be taken because they took other people's lives, right? So I always specify or try to specify that my stance on abortion is based off of the belief, this moral objective, that murdering innocent human beings is wrong. That's the objective stance I hold behind why abortion is evil and why I won't support it. That's my moral stance. I can't tell you what your moral stance is or what your morals tell you or what you believe. I'm telling y'all what I believe. If you don't agree, you don't agree, right? But if you're going to argue with me, your argument needs to attack my objective stance, which is that abortion is murder. So you either need to tell me why abortion isn't murder or why abortion is justified. But kids being in foster care has nothing to do with abortion. That's a straw man. That's a shift of the narrative. Because it's just like kids in foster care are being abused, but so I need to abort my child. And it's almost like, what? My cousins were abused in foster care, so I need abortion. It's like, what's the connection between your cousins being in foster care and people needing the right to abortion? Like, what is the actual connection? What is the connection that you're making? The true thing is it's not even connected, right? The person in foster care wasn't aborted, right? But what people are doing, they're shifting. This is why it's manipulative. I don't think people realize it. They're shifting the focus to kids being in foster care and how hard those lives are, their lives are, and using that as, well, because foster kids in foster care have such hard lives, I have to be able to abort my child. Is the child you're about to abort in foster care? Like, this is where I'm like, what is the connection between kids being in foster care and you wanting to be able to abort your child, a child that's not currently in foster care. By the way, you're not aborting a child in foster care, which, by the way, if you're arguing that foster kids shouldn't exist at all and that it's better that they be killed than exist, I would say that's also not a great stance. And the thing is, when I follow people's logic to the conclusion, they often don't like it, because that's what the logical fallacy is actually arguing. You're basically saying foster kids' lives are so horrible that it's better that they be dead. That's not the argument y'all think you're making, but that's what the logical fallacy, when I follow the logic of that fallacy to its conclusion, to how does that even is tied to the issue of abortion, that's the conclusion you come to. It's foster kids are being abused, therefore I need abortion. And I'm always thinking to myself, what does the issue of kids being in foster care, horrible issue, right? In my opinion, completely separate issue from abortion. Because, like I said, it's only brought up to be a strawman fallacy. Because people want to misrepresent that me believing abortion is wrong means I'm okay with kids in foster care being abused. Nowhere in believing abortion is murder is supporting kids in foster care being abused, or saying kids in foster care is this great solution. Which, again, I feel like they're completely different issues, which is why I don't like that. It's a manipulation tactic is what it is. That is what a strawman fallacy is. It's a way to manipulate people into arguing over something completely different from what we're arguing, because the claim of let's talk about foster kids instead is a way to shift from the actual argument of abortion being murder. So anyways, basically it's very deceptive, and they undermine someone's credibility, because you're not attacking my actual argument. For one, a straw man argument never actually attacks the objective of the initial argument, which is why I'm saying, like, I get really irritated when people are constantly commenting on my stances on abortion with these strawman arguments and these strawman fallacies, or they create ad hominem fallacies. The ad hominem is basically they're gonna attack me as a person. Well, you're not a good person. You're this and that. Therefore, you're wrong. Or they use the fallacy of popularity or the bandwagon fallacy. Well, most people support abortion, therefore it's okay. And my response to that is always, well, Hitler was popular when he did what he did to the Jews when the Holocaust was happening. Does that mean he was justified? Does that mean he was right? No. I also will use slavery. Well, slavery was popular. It was normal at the time. No one thought that, there was anything wrong with slavery. But that doesn't make it justified. Just because something's popular doesn't make it right. Just because a lot of women right now say it's this great thing, I need it, it's my right, doesn't make it morally right. It's a fallacy. It's a way to win an argument without actually attacking the actual argument. And when I argue, I'm not making straw man fallacies. I am not making ad hominems. I am not appealing to what's popular, because when I hold a stance on something, I objectively support what I believe. And I'm telling you right now, pro-choice does not stand on an objective moral. That's why people can't argue against it objectively, because your objective, well, you can, but it's a moral objective that's never going to sound moral or good. But that's why it's manipulative, right? In order to convince people that they have to have the right to kill their own children in the womb, you have to manipulate someone somehow, right? Because, for a mother to be convinced that honestly, this is what I said. It's like no one could have created abortion but the devil. No one could have created abortion but the devil. That's what I wholeheartedly believe as a Christian. the idea that we've convinced women that when they become mothers, they need the right to kill their own children in their womb. Like it literally just sounds so evil and demonic, even if I just say it like that. Convincing mothers they need to murder their own children in their womb. That's the right we're fighting for when we're talking about abortion. Anyways, I've listened to women who've had abortions. I've listened to women who've regretted their abortions. I've listened to people who survived abortions. I'm not listening to only people who are pro-life, by the way. But when I listen to pro-choice arguments and the logic is not there, if every argument you have to support your stance is a logical fallacy, you don't hold a moral objective, nor do you have an objective stance on the issue you're even arguing against. The only objective is that you don't care what happens to kids in the womb so long as someone has the choice. I don't even know. I personally think like I've made so many videos about this. I don't even really want to talk about it now. This person just really made me so mad because she basically tried to pretend like, well, basically she was like, my comment got more likes than your video, therefore I'm right, but yeah, we can agree to disagree. Like she really tried to come for me, and then I was like, I've been being too nice. I was being way too nice to you because, I was actively trying to well, at first, and this is why I'm just like, I don't even typically attempt to reason with people, but it was like every argument she had was a straw man argument. So, and I kept trying to tell her this. I'm like, that's not the issue I'm talking about. I'm not saying miscarriages aren't sad losses of lives. I'm not saying kids being in foster care is this perfect system that doesn't need support, but I kept bringing it back. I'm like, abortion doesn't do anything to help kids in foster care. Why are we talking about foster care? Miscarriage is not the same as someone intentionally unaliving their kid in their womb. Why are we talking about miscarriages? Those are not my argument. That is not my stance. You keep talking about all of these other issues other than what I'm actually arguing for. And then have the audacity to tell me I haven't made an argument against her when I literally attacked everything she said against the actual logic she was making. It's like, ugh. I feel like for me, it's like you can't reason with someone who's not capable of being logical almost. And maybe I'm driving myself crazy by entertaining someone who doesn't understand logic and reason. And I don't want to assume someone doesn't understand that, but I'm just like, how can I have responded? Should I just read all the comments so y'all hear what I'm saying? I mean, the video is public. If you want to read it, you can, but I'm like, do I even want to read all of this? I don't. If y'all want to watch the video, you can read the comment. I might remove the comment altogether because it's getting on my nerves. But basically, I ended up arguing with her more about foster care and adoption than actually the issue I was talking about in the video, which is abortion. Abortion is a separate issue from foster care. Abortion is a separate issue from kids being adopted. It's like and this is why I talked about them being manipulative, because y'all aren't arguing against what pro-lifers are actually saying is wrong. Y'all are arguing about kids being in foster care, and then when I make the point that How does aborting children help kids in foster care? It doesn't. It doesn't do anything to help kids who are in foster care, which also, by the way, kids end up in foster care because of for a plethora of reasons, but it doesn't have anything to do with abortion 9 times out of 10, right? What if someone's parent got ill, died, they didn't have anyone else to take care of them, now they're in foster care, right? Is that because that child not having the ability to be aborted the reason they end up in foster care? Like, I just hate, I really just hate having to argue against these really dumb and, in my opinion, manipulative, harmful, deceptive takes that people use to try to take away from the stance I actually hold, which is that abortion is murder. And I hold this stance that abortion is murder because abortion is murder. When you try to pretend abortion isn't murder, or you try to pretend murder is justified, this is why people have to make these strawman arguments, because they know they're arguing something that is not good. But in order to justify evil, how do you justify evil? I don't know. You really can't. That's why, like, it hurts my head. It hurts my head to have to try to reason with dumb logic, bad logic, but also just like, I don't want to say stupidity. It's just like people really don't realize that they're not arguing against my actual stance when they're talking about foster care, when you're talking about adoption. I'm not arguing against that kids being in foster care is a great thing, but kids end up in foster care for separate reasons from why I'm against abortion. It's just like, I really can't not me. I really can't process. It's like it doesn't compute in my brain that these things are even related, other than you're trying to pretend they are. And it's like, my objective brain is like, this, why are you talking about something completely different from what I'm talking about? Like, if you want to have a conversation about kids being in foster care and that as an issue, great, but don't bring that up because I'm talking about abortion. That's not the same issue. It's a completely different issue. But they have to pretend they're the same in order to manipulate people and to deceive people, to pretend like people who are pro life just are ignoring. And the most ironic thing of it all? Pro choicers don't care about kids in foster care except as an excuse for what to abort other children. They don't care about fixing all the problems in foster care. They just use their trauma to justify someone else having an abortion of a child not currently in foster care that they don't even know will actually end up in foster care. You're literally using someone's lived experience as an excuse to murder a completely different and innocent human being. And some people will hear what I'm like. I feel like, do people understand what I'm saying? Like, it's actually making me like feel like I'm going crazy because I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. It's like people just hear what they want to hear. And maybe that's what I just need to learn, is like, stop entertaining people who can't understand or comprehend what I'm saying, and stop going back and forth with people who are literally just looking to argue. I make my stances not trying to argue. Maybe I do want to challenge people to think about what they believe and what they're supporting. Absolutely. I want you to think very hard about what you're supporting when you support abortion. I want you to question, is this a moral stance I can hold to its logical conclusion? I want you to question what you believe. But ultimately, I can't force people to agree with me on abortion. I can't force people to be on my side, and I'm not trying to force anyone anything. I'm literally explaining, this is how I feel, this is why I feel this way, and this is why my stance is not going to change. And if you don't agree, you don't agree. I don't hate you. I'm not wishing ill will on you. I'm not even arguing that you're a terrible person, but I am saying what you are supporting, I believe is evil. Even if you don't believe it's evil, I believe it is evil. And actually, I should say, I know it's evil. I know it's evil. I talked about this in a very long video, and I'm going to end this with this statement. God, this is why I can't support it as a Christian also. I feel like there's very logical reasons I won't support it outside of my faith, but the one of the biggest reason is, as a Christian, God showed me the spiritual consequences of women who have abortions in hell. So basically, a woman had an abortion, died without repenting. I don't know if they're Christians, whatever. But all you know is someone ends up in hell because they reject Jesus. They don't accept Jesus into their heart, so there's no forgiveness for their sins. I'm not getting into the semantics of all of that, but basically, God showed me the spiritual consequences of abortion. And basically what it was these women were in hell, and these demons were performing abortions on their body. And when I tell you, it was grotesque, y'all. Like, I knew I was being shielded from how actually disgusting it was. But so one abortion procedure, and it was specifically the ones where they rip apart the baby limb by limb. And these women were laying on a table, like a medical table, and these demons were ripping their limbs apart off of their body. And these women were screaming in pain, and the demons just kept doing that to that woman's body over and over and over again. And I saw this in my dream, y'all. I can't make this up. And I just immediately understood, like, this is happening to these women because they aborted their babies. They allowed a doctor to rip apart their child in their room limb by limb. And the spiritual consequence of them doing that was in hell. These demons were torturing them by having their limbs torn limb by limb, and they were mocking them as they were doing it. And this was just repeated over and over. So it's like their limbs would get ripped off, and then it would be back on their bodies, and then just get ripped off again over and over and over, like for eternity. That is hell. That is hell. So you cannot convince me abortion is okay. You're never going to convince me of that. Not after what I saw, not after what I know. You can't convince me of something I know is evil. If it's evil, if it was done on you as a person, how can you sit here and claim it's not evil being done on another person? On your own child at that, in your womb. If a doctor, I'm like, this is hell, right? The spiritualness of hell is just really, it still is measuring things that are happening in this world. So if a person went to a doctor, and that doctor started ripping apart their bodies limb by limb, people would say they were evil. That doctor was evil to do that while they are alive, by the way. Not a dead body, an alive person. These babies are living when their limbs are getting ripped apart by a doctor. Do y'all not understand? This is why I say abortion is evil. I can't change my stance on this after seeing what I've seen, after knowing what I know, and after understanding what I understand. I won't, I can't, and that's it. No, it's a waste of time, honestly, to even try to argue with me, because nothing changes it. Nothing changes it or justifies it. And what I support I get people in bad situations, they don't want it, they're not ready to be moms and all of that stuff. But what people need to realize is there's choices you make before you get pregnant to prevent that. There are choices you can make before, so you don't never have to get pregnant. One of them being not having sex. The other one being well, the one that y'all should be fighting for, in my opinion, to be my body, my choice. Fight for women to have hysterectomies at any age. You don't want people to have to, if I believe abortion is wrong, regardless. Wrong, it's always wrong. I would gladly support people having hysterectomy so that they can never get pregnant and therefore never have to abort a baby. I 100% support that because, in my opinion, that is truly my body, my choice. You're doing something to your body, not someone else's. And the most ironic thing, also, I want to say this. I said the last thing was the last thing, but this is the last thing. The most ironic thing about abortion is everyone getting an abortion wasn't aborted. Every person aborting a baby is doing something to someone else that was never done to them. These people who weren't aborted are literally doing harm to someone that was never done to them. They're committing something, a harm to someone else that they wouldn't want done to them. If you could sit here and be like, well, I would have wanted someone to abort me, therefore I get to abort my own child. But how is that actually true if everyone getting an abortion wasn't aborted? You're only able to get an abortion because you weren't aborted. It's like you have this right to abortion from the moment you're born as a woman. Ugh. Let me not. I just think, like I said, I think all of these arguments are very nonsensical, illogical, and also none of the arguments actually justify abortion, because, like I said, a child being in foster care does not justify murdering them. We don't say, oh, this kid's in foster care, oh, their life's so hard, let's just kill them. We don't say that. Oh, this child is adopted, adoption is horrible, let's just kill them. You don't get to determine someone else's value because of their circumstances. You also don't get to decide what circumstances are too hard for that person, right? I would even say, in the most objective way, each person gets to determine for themselves what circumstances they would deal with in order to live, right? Or I should even say, just like, you don't actually get to decide your circumstances, is the other part. But if the people's circumstances were actually as hard as the people who use foster kids in adoption to justify abortion, then majority of the suicides we see in this country would be mostly kids in foster care and mostly kids that were adopted. That's not what we see. If we could truly say, and it's like, we don't support suicide either, so I'm like, I don't understand why it's justified. Ugh. None of it is ever justified, in my opinion. All of these arguments, like I said, they make me mad, they make me angry. I think they're nonsensical, I think they're illogical, they're mostly built around logical fallacies. If you don't understand what the logical fallacies are, look them up. But basically, it's just people using deceptive language, deceptive tactics, shifting the focus to a completely different issue to pretend abortion is moral. Because deep down, every person knows it's not. I don't think me telling people don't like if I say abortion is murder, because people try to pretend it's not. But it is. And everyone knows it is. Pretending abortion is not murder is the problem, actually. Because if people would argue rationally about abortion, that we know it's murdering a human being, which is what we see now, all it does is show how evil it is, though. When you have people laughing about killing their babies in their womb, it's clear they don't stand on some sort of moral high ground. Like, people love to pretend supporting abortion is some sort of moral high ground to being pro-life, but it's pretty obvious when you look at the people bragging about it that most of them don't hold any moral stance or objectives to begin with. If you can laugh at killing your own child in the womb, how sad, I would say. How sad, but Lord, this world is fallen. Which is the last video I made. It's like, basically, you know, I can still choose to love people who have an abortion despite me knowing abortion is evil. I have to still choose to love those people. Because God still chooses to love me when I sin and when I do evil things. So, it's not about me pretending to be more righteous than someone else. But like I said, if I know something's wrong, I'm going to say it's wrong. I'm not going to pretend something's okay. And I don't care how many people don't agree with me. Like this girl used the popularity fallacy as well. Well, more people liked my comment, therefore I'm right. I don't care if 100 people liked your comment and my video had 0 likes. I would still stand here and say what I was going to say. I do not base my opinions and what I believe is right or wrong around what is popular. I could care less what's popular. I speak my mind. I speak for myself. I don't speak for nobody but myself. At the end of the day, I'm not speaking for other people. And that's why I've always said, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I'm not speaking for you. You're allowed to disagree. But that's not going to change my stance. All right, that is all.